How are the settlements determined? So there are 30 categories within the settlement grid. It is by age, it is by injury, it is by ownership of property, ownership of business. And again, as Beth indicated, if you have retained an attorney already, you should leave this website and you need to talk to your attorney because they're going to give you advice. But generally speaking, these are the categories. Children who were exposed, who were 6 and under, fall within categories 1 through 7. So if you are assisting a child, these are the categories that you're looking at. Between 7 and 11 at first exposure, categories 8 through 14. Between 12 and 17 at first exposure, categories 15 through 21. We're going to concentrate tonight on those who were 18 and over at time of first exposure. We're going to walk through each of those categories 22 through 27. We're also going to talk about category 28, which is for residential property. And we'll talk about categories 29 and 30 for those of you who owned businesses and suffered losses. You can fit into more than one category. You can have an injury category, a residential property category, and a business loss category claim. But we'll go over each one of them, and hopefully it will be clear by the time we're done where you might fall and what documentation you need to provide in order to prove that claim. Next, please, Beth. This is kind of just a high level for adults who have an injury claim over 18 at time of first exposure. We're going to walk through each one of these, and this information is pulled directly from the settlement grid of what is filed with the court. That can be found on our website if you want to look at it in more detail. Let's start with category 22, Beth. These are for adults. Remember, now we've highlighted a little bit here. If you were over 18 at the time of first exposure, you, for at least 21 days out of a 30-day period between April 25th, 2014 and July 31st, 2016, you lived, you dwelled, you attended school, you worked, or you were otherwise exposed to Flint water. And for category 22, you had a blood lead level of over 10 or over. That test had to be done between May 16, 2014 and August 31st, 2016. You also could, for a certain amount of time, there was a bone scan that was offered to residents within the community. If you had a bone scan measurement of lead of 10 or over, that could have happened between May 16, 2014 and April of 2021. What do you need to prove a category 22? Again, you had to be over 18, 21 out of 30 days between April 14 and July 16. You have to be able to prove that you lived there, you attended school, you worked there, and you need a blood lead or bone scan test of over 10. That's category 22. Category 23. Same initial things. Over 18, 21 out of 30 days between that same April 14 to July 16 time period. You lived there, you dwelled there, you attended school there, you worked there, you were otherwise exposed to Flint water during that time period. For category 23, slightly less blood lead levels, slightly less bone scan levels, between 5.0 and 9.9, same time period. Or you had a serious personal injury. And what does that mean? According to the settlement grid, there are specific medical conditions that are listed that qualify under category 23. Severe hypertension, neuropathy, a stroke, anemia, or renal insufficiency. You had one of these 5 things happen to you during the time period, May 2014 to July 31st, and you saw a doctor. You were treated for this. And the doctor reports in his or her medical records that it was related to the water, caused or exacerbated by the water. What will it require for you to prove a category 23? You either need the blood or the bone scan test of 5.0 to 9.9, or you need the medical records or a report by the doctor. That is category 23. Category 24, Beth. All right, category 24 does not involve blood lead at all, does not involve bone scan or bone test at all. Category 24 is other medical issues, other physical injury. Again, the same criteria. You're over 18 at first exposure, 21 out of 30 days from April 2014 to July 2016. You resided, you dwelled, you attended school, you worked there, or you were otherwise exposed to Flint water. You saw a physician for one of these conditions, and the doctor related it to the water. Skin rashes, skin lesions, hair loss, respiratory issues, pneumonia, or gastrointestinal conditions. These are examples. If you have other physical injuries which a doctor related to exposure to the Flint water, and it is recorded in the medical records, then that's your proof for category 24. Next, Beth, please. Category 25. This is for people who were exposed after July 31st, 2016. Now remember, the first three categories that we just talked about were between April 2014 through July 31st, 2016. There's a category for people who were first exposed after July 2016. But again, they have to have the 21 out of 30 days, have to be over 18 at first exposure, have to have resided, dwelled, attended school, attended work, or otherwise were exposed to the water. And they have a BLL, a blood lead level test, or a bone scan test of 5 or over. 5 or over. Or you have medical condition. And this goes to the conditions that we talked about in category 24. A skin rash, a skin lesion, a hair loss, respiratory, pneumonia, gastro conditions. Those are examples. Again, if your doctor related your physical condition to the exposure to the water, and that is recorded in your medical records, that is your proof for category 25. Other proof on the right-hand side, you can see on the screen, the blood lead test or the bone scan test. 26, there is a special category for women who suffered a miscarriage. That is category 26. These are women of any age. So women of any age, you can be under 18 and qualify for this category. You have to have had the 21 out of 30 days between April 14 and July 16, had to reside, dwell, attend school, attend work, or otherwise be exposed to the water, suffered a miscarriage between May of 2014 and April of 2017, and there had to be a test of either of you or the fetus's cord for blood lead. And if that test result was 5 or over, that would be in your medical records, should be a lab report in your medical records. So if you suffered a miscarriage, it would be important for you to look for those medical records, because you'll need to be able to show that you did miscarry, that it is during that time period, and have a blood lead test result. So very, very specialized category for women who suffered a miscarriage. Just muted myself. Category 27, again, a very specialized category. This is for individuals who were diagnosed or passed from Legionnaires. People who were diagnosed or died, and the cause of death was Legionnaires. Different time period here. Over 18 at the time of the diagnosis. This time period is April 2014 through December of 2018. Have to be exposed to the Flint water. Had to have the diagnosis between that 4.5 year period. If the diagnosis resulted in injury but not death, it's category 27A. If the diagnosis resulted in death, it's category B. What do you need to prove that? Medical records. Medical records will clearly say that there is a Legionnaire's diagnosis, a death certificate. If there's a death involved, a death certificate should show as either primary or secondary cause of death, Legionnaires. Those are your personal injury claims. So you've got options on blood lead or bone scan, medical records, miscarriage, Legionnaires.